Hey guys, it's Justine here from I Should Read That, and today I am bringing you some more 5-star predictions. So I've done a couple of these 5-star predictions videos, and so far they have either been like spot on or wildly off base, which is hilarious. There's really no middle ground with whether or not like I actually rate these 5 stars. There's never been like a 3 out of these. It's either been I hated it or it was amazing and mind-blowing, which is kind of funny. So I went ahead and I picked out 5 more sci-fi and fantasy books from my shelves that I think I'm going to love, whether it's on the recommendation of other people, it caught my eye, or if it just sounds like a bangin' read. So I will go ahead and link, I think I've only done a couple of these, but I'll go ahead and link the playlist for my 5-star predictions videos up top if you want to have a look at what I've thought I would love in the past. And at some point I'm going to go through and do like a reaction to my 5-star predictions and tell you what I really thought of them. But that's for another day. So I have 5 books here. I have 3 fantasy and 2 sci-fi. These are all things I'm really excited for. They're all books that are out now. There are no sort of advanced copies here. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. I would love to hear what you guys thought of all of these if you have read them, so definitely make sure to let me know in the comments and tell me if I'm wildly off base or not. So the first of my 5-star predictions is The Grace of Kings by Ken Liu. I have read a little bit of Ken Liu's original work. He is best known for his short stories, but also for being the translator for The Three-Body Problem, which was a huge hit. It's a sci-fi that was originally written in Chinese and ended up being translated by him into English. I think it's being turned into like a film or TV series or something like that. But I was really curious to read some more of his original stuff, and I have seen this book come up on a couple people's channels recently. I think Katy from Brightness Katy, and I think Lena from Sufficiently Advanced Lena have both read this and loved it. If it's not one of you guys, sorry. But I'm pretty sure that the 2 of them have read it and really enjoyed it. So I am really excited for this. I've had this on my radar for years. I mean, how old is this book? I think I remember it coming out and wanting to read it in 2015. So it's been a little while, and I think I'm due to finally pick this up. So in this book we have an emperor who, through an incredibly brutal regime, managed to unite the island kingdoms. Now the emperor is on his deathbed and people are feeling unrest because of the sort of brutality of his rule, but also the way that he is just like using people and running them into the ground on various engineering projects and such. So in this book we have a bandit and a vengeance-sworn son of a deposed duke who are leading sort of different rebellions against the emperor. However, they end up kind of getting together and they journey to the heart of the empire, and it says, witnessing the clash of armies, fleets of silk-draped airships, magical books, and shape-shifting gods, which sounds absolutely amazing. So their unlikely friendship has the power to drastically unbalance the power in this empire, but at what price? This is like Justine catnip. This sounds like exactly the kind of thing that I would love, and I'm shocked that I haven't read it yet. I'm sure it's kind of the size of it that has put me off a little bit, because I have been leaning away from longer books despite the fact that I love long books. So I think this is one that I'm going to be picking up really soon. I think it's a trilogy and I think it's completed now, but I will have to double check that. But this looks amazing. I think I'm gonna love it. I've been hearing about it for years and years and years. The next book that I think is going to be a 5-star read is kind of recommended by everyone. Everyone has read this and everyone has loved it, and I really need to get my act together and pick this up. So this is The Sword of Kaigen by M.L. Wang. This was a self-publishing phenomenon. It has been just blowing up everywhere. I feel like everyone has read this but me, and I think that the time has come. So one of my friends actually got this for me for Christmas, so I've not had it on the shelves for very long, but it's one that I have had my eye on for absolute ages. So this is another book that has a empire at its kind of heart, and in this book we follow I believe it's a boy and his mother, they're at least from the same family if it's not his mother. But we follow these two characters who are sort of members of these people who live sort of in the mountainside in the far reaches of the Empire, and they are a people known for their fighting abilities. They're the ones that have kept the Empire's enemies at bay for years and years and years and have sort of helped preserve the peace. But we have a young man, a 14-year-old boy, who has always known his purpose in life, which is to master his family's sort of fighting techniques and become a warrior for the Empire. However, one day sort of the curtain is drawn back and the veil is lifted a little bit, and he learns that the empire that he is going to be sworn to fight for may be built on a foundation of lies, and also that he may end up having to become a fighter for this empire a lot sooner than he thinks. So we also follow a woman who I think is his mother, correct me if I'm wrong, and she was a fighter many, many years ago before her marriage. She has settled down to be a good housewife and a good mother. However, when her son starts asking questions about the empire, she thinks she's going to need to pick up her sword again. Another book that's just like, it's Justine catnip. This is something I'm going to love. Why have I not read it yet? I was probably put off by the length of it. Also, I didn't have a physical copy of this book, and I've had a digital copy for ages, but I really struggle with long books on Kindle. So I think that now that I have this physical copy, the time has come. I'm really, really excited to read this, and I believe it's a standalone, so that's very exciting as well. The next book is one that I don't think I've really heard anyone talking about, and the reason that I think this is going to be a 5-star read for me is it just sounds really inventive and really, really, really wonderful. So this is Torn by Rowena Miller. I think, again, this might be a trilogy, and I think it's a complete trilogy. I'm not 100% sure. We'll need to check on that, but this looks fabulous. So I love, like, dressmaking and tailoring in books, especially in fantasy books. I think it's so incredibly interesting. I wish I could sew. I can't sew to save my life. I wish I could sew, and I think that that's maybe one of the reasons that I'm drawn to these kinds of books, because I love the absolute beauty of these sort of like gowns and embroidery and things like that that go into these, and kind of the descriptions. So like, for example, in Mask of Mirrors, there's a character who's a seamstress, and I love the clothing in that book and sort of the descriptions of clothing. Robert Jordan's books, everyone hates the clothing descriptions. I love the clothing descriptions, and this book sounds like it's one big clothing description, which is amazing. So in this book we follow Sophie, who is a dressmaker, and she lifts her family out of poverty because of her incredible skill for making these dresses and sort of embroidering spells into them. So she becomes a very sort of sought-after seamstress, and she ends up being commissioned by the royal court, which could secure her future. The problem is her brother Christos is sort of becoming a leading figure in the anti-monarchist movement, and the two of them end up being pulled into this magical plot. This sounds amazing. This sounds like such a good book, and I don't think I know anyone who has read it, so if you have, please let me know. But I love the author on Twitter, which, as you may know, is one of the reasons that I buy books. If I think someone's a nice person, I'll just go ahead and like buy up all of their books, which is why I bought Rowena Miller's book. And she does these amazing threads on making clothing and things like that, because she is actually a seamstress in real life, which makes this even better. So now we're moving on to sci-fi. The next book that I have is going to be one of my next reads, because it is one of the Space Sirens book club picks, and I'm really, really looking forward to reading this. I have wanted to pick this up for ages, and I've just never gotten around to it, but the time is now. I still wanted to include this in my 5-star predictions, because technically I haven't read it yet at this point. This is A Memory Called Empire by Arcadie Martine. So this is one of those books where when I look at the description, my eyes kind of glaze over. But I've tried to describe this book in multiple videos, in TBRs and book hauls and all of that, and I don't think I've ever quite gotten it right, so please forgive me if you have read this. So in this book we follow a woman who is assigned to be an ambassador in the Empire's kind of main capital city. She's great. She's really excited for this. However, when she arrives, she learns that the previous ambassador may have actually been murdered, and she may be next. So she is trying to investigate this murder, figure out what's happening, trying to save her own life, but also she learns that she is going to have to sort of fight the Empire to prevent them from annexing her home world, which is a mining station. And then we also have, like, intrigue, seductive alien cultures, and extraordinary technological secrets. This sounds great. I'm really excited for this, and I've heard from multiple people that I would love this. I know it's a little bit dense, and the names are really difficult in this, but it's one that I think I'm really gonna enjoy. I am going to do the audiobook for this one, which should be really interesting. And the last book that I have on my list is a recent haul. I hauled this back in January, and it came out in January, and it is one that I have desperately wanted to read for ages. I fell in love with the cover and have basically been waiting for this book to come out, and I finally have it in my hands. I think it's going to be a 5-star read. This is Persephone Station by Stina Leicht. So this takes place on a kind of backwater world called Persephone Station, and it's sort of largely ignored by the sort of Federation of Planets, but there's a particular corporation that is very interested in exploiting its secrets. So the main focus of this book is on this place called Monk's Bar, which is in sort of the main town of Persephone Station, and it is run by a person named Rosie. So there is a front bar where wannabe criminals and rich Earth tourists drink, and there is a back bar in Monk's Bar, and in the back bar we have a very special class of people and those who are looking to hire them. So in this book we follow a character named Angel, who is kind of the head of this sort of semi-organization of bounty hunters and criminals and assassins and washed up mercenaries. So she is asked to perform a job for Rosie, and this ends up putting her and her people in this kind of situation where they may end up being at war with this corporation that is exploiting Persephone Station. This sounds so good. I'm really excited for this. It has been staring at me from the shelf since January, and I think the time is coming to read this one. I think it's going to be fabulous. So those are 5 more 5-star predictions. All of these books look amazing, and I think I'm going to love every single one of them. So I would love to hear in the comments below if you've actually read any of these books and what you thought of them. I would really love to know your thoughts, especially on ones like Torn and Persephone Station that I haven't really heard many people talking about. I'd really like to hear what you think of those. And I'd also love to know if these are in your TBR and if you're planning on picking them up anytime soon. I post bookish content to this channel fairly frequently, so go ahead and hit subscribe, check back soon, and I will see you next time.